You won at Believe What Happened During Starship ES Comeback Launch because this wasn't just another routine rocket test. It was the kind of moment that had millions around the world glued to their screens waiting to see if SpaceX could pull off what many thought might still be years away. Starship is the most ambitious rocket ever built by humanity, a fully reusable giant capable of carrying massive payloads and eventually people beyond Earth, and this latest launch marked a turning point. To really understand why, we need to look at the build-up, the stakes, the challenges, and the moments that unfolded second by second. For months leading up to this launch, there had been whispers and doubts. Starship had seen explosive failures, fiery landings, and spectacular setbacks. Critics questioned whether the vision of a fully reusable spacecraft was even possible, or whether it was just too ambitious for our current technology. Elon Musk and his team at SpaceX stayed persistent. What sets this launch apart is not only that the rocket left the pad successfully, but that it achieved milestones that proved the design is coming together. This was not just a leap forward for one company, but a leap forward for all of space exploration. The scale of Starship is almost hard to wrap your head around. It stands nearly 400 feet tall when fully stacked with the super heavy booster. To compare, that's taller than the Statue of Liberty. It's designed to generate over 16 million pounds of thrust at liftoff, which makes it the most powerful rocket ever created. This incredible power is necessary if we are serious about reaching the Moon, Mars, and beyond, with human crews and heavy cargo. The launch site in Texas became a stage for this unprecedented machine, and when the engines lit, the ground shook like an earthquake. For many watching, it wasn't just an engineering test. It felt like a moment of destiny. The ignition itself was flawless this time. All engines roared in a synchronized blast that turned night into day for miles. Unlike earlier attempts where engines shut down prematurely, this launch saw them performing in unison. The rocket climbed into the sky with grace, an immense column of fire beneath it, and the cameras showed a stability that SpaceX had been striving for. In those first few minutes, everything depended on thousands of components working perfectly together, and they did. Then came stage separation, one of the trickiest parts of the entire flight profile. Instead of using the traditional hot staging method where one stage fires before the other shuts down, SpaceX engineered a new system that allows for a cleaner separation. Onlookers held their breath because a failure here could mean total disaster. But the sequence unfolded beautifully. The booster detached, and the Starship upper stage lit its engines. Cheers erupted in control rooms and living rooms worldwide. Now, the booster itself is designed to be caught mid-air by giant mechanical arms known as chopsticks on the launch tower. It sounds like science fiction, and in the past, attempts fell short. But during this comeback launch, the booster executed its descent with far greater control than ever before. Even though it wasn't fully recovered this time, the data showed a huge improvement in precision. That means that soon these boosters could be reused multiple times just like airplanes, slashing the cost of reaching orbit. Meanwhile, the Starship upper stage continued its climb. One of the goals was to reach near orbital velocity and then survive reentry. The heat shields made of thousands of black tiles on its belly faced their most serious test yet. This system is reminiscent of the space shuttle but improved with modern materials and a design that allows easier replacement of damaged tiles. As Starship began to fall back through the atmosphere, flames licked across its surface at thousands of degrees, and yet the craft held strong. This was proof that SpaceX's vision of rapid reusability is inching closer to reality. What made this launch so captivating was not only the technical achievement, but the human element. Around the globe, people watched in awe. For Muslims in particular, many found inspiration in this journey. There's a long history of Muslim scholars who look to the stars, from al-Biruni to al-Tusi, pioneers who mapped the heavens and advanced mathematics centuries ago. Seeing Starship rise is a reminder that curiosity, exploration, and striving toward the unknown is part of the shared human story, and Muslims have always been a part of that narrative. In fact, the Quran itself encourages reflection on the universe, the stars, and creation as signs of the Creator's greatness. Watching such a powerful machine push the boundaries of what's possible feels like living that spirit of discovery again. Another fascinating element is how this project shows the balance between human ambition and humility. Space exploration reminds us how small Earth really is compared to the vastness beyond. Yet it also shows how much we can achieve when we come together with knowledge, creativity, and perseverance. Starship's comeback wasn't only a technical victory, it was a moral one. Proof that setbacks are not the end, they are lessons leading to eventual success. This resonates deeply with communities that value patience and persistence, including Muslims, who are taught that perseverance through trials is the path to greater rewards. The technical lessons learned from this launch will ripple outward. The engines, called Raptors, performed more reliably than in any past attempt. These engines are unique because they use a full-flow staged combustion system, making them more efficient and powerful than anything else in operation today. SpaceX had to solve immense engineering challenges to make them not just work, but work in clusters of over 30 simultaneously. Each successful test brings down the cost of future missions and paves the way for colonization of other planets. Imagine future astronauts landing on Mars in a starship that grew out of these very tests. For laymen who don't follow the fine print of rocket science, think of it this way. Every previous rocket in history has essentially been disposable. You build it, launch it, and then most of it crashes into the ocean, never to be used again. Imagine if airplanes were treated this way, building a new one for every single flight. That's why tickets to space are so expensive. What SpaceX is trying to do with Starship is more like inventing the airplane model of space travel, a machine that can take off, land, and then fly again and again. If this vision succeeds, going to space will become not just the privilege of governments and billionaires, but eventually open to regular people, scientists, even communities that today could never dream of sending their own representatives into orbit. The cultural impact is enormous, too. For young Muslims watching in places from Cairo to Jakarta, from Istanbul to Karachi, this kind of achievement sparks hope. It shows that modern science and space travel are not foreign to their identity, but a continuation of a proud tradition of exploration and learning. Just as Muslim astronomers centuries ago built observatories and invented tools to measure the heavens, today's youth can see a role for themselves in the space age. The dream of one day hearing the call to prayer aboard a station orbiting the moon or Mars suddenly doesn't feel impossible. During the broadcast, engineers explained how the data collected would shape the next designs. Even the smallest observations matter, like how the booster AS grid fins responded to high-speed air currents or how the tiles held up under reentry. Every second of footage from this flight is being pored over by teams of specialists. The goal is to make the next launch even better, to fix weak points, and to move closer to a vehicle that can fly, land, refuel, and fly again. One of the most jaw-dropping parts of this comeback was how smooth it all looked compared to earlier, more chaotic attempts. Where past tests ended in explosions that tore through the sky, this time there was an elegance, a feeling that the system was starting to mature. Rockets are always risky, but confidence has grown that Starship is moving from experiment to reality. The audience reaction also tells the story. Social media was flooded with clips, reactions, and celebrations. People cheered not just for SpaceX, but for the idea that humanity is once again daring to dream on a grand scale. For many Muslims, the symbolism ran deep. A people who once led the world in science and navigation, who used the stars to guide them in the desert and the seas, are now witnessing humanity preparing to use those same stars as stepping stones to other worlds. What's also important is how this technology could benefit Earth. Starship isn't only about Mars. Its design could make launching satellites cheaper, connecting remote regions of the world with better internet. It could make transporting humanitarian supplies faster by using point-to-point space travel, reducing what might take days to just an hour. Imagine a future where aid can reach disaster zones instantly, or where knowledge and communication bridge divides. That possibility resonates strongly with values of service and helping others, something deeply rooted in Islamic teachings. As the dust settled from this incredible comeback, one thing became clear. Starship is no longer just a dream or a wild experiment. It's a system that is proving itself piece by piece. This launch was the proof of concept many were waiting for, and it reminded the world that failure is not final. With each attempt, the vision grows closer to reality, and for people everywhere, including Muslim communities, it's an invitation to take part, to be inspired, and to dream of the stars again.